Hi, my name is Robert Ridley, and this is my presentation for EDL 853, Module 8. It's on the case study, Get This Child Out of My Room. I'm just going to go ahead and apologize up front. I'm going to have to talk rather fast in order to get through all my slides in the 15 minutes here. So, summary. And looking at the case, Carl's a third grade student. He attends a Royal Public School. Carl's been diagnosed with a behavioral disorder. The teacher, Mrs. Taylor, she's the regular education teacher in the general education classroom. She has expressed some concern for safety and has requested for assistance from the special education teacher, Miss Green. Miss Taylor also made the comment that she'd like Carl removed from her classroom. So now Miss Green is tasked with collaboratively working with all the parties to ensure that we're addressing the situation and keeping all student success at the forefront of what we do. Category 1, problem identification and analysis. So what do we know? We know that it's a K through 12 comprehensive school. It's located in a rural area. There are 16 school districts, and they formed a co-op. Within that co-op, they share resources and services. The administration for the school district is one superintendent. That superintendent then takes turns going to each of the schools in the small townships. So he's at each school 1 day per week. And then there's a teacher that's designated as the assistant superintendent, and she's there to inform the superintendent of any major issues going on with the parents, the faculty, or the staff, and also to handle any minor discipline problems or any problems that may arise that are minor. We also know that this is Miss Green's first year in special education. We also know that she's trying to fill big shoes. She's replacing a 25-year teaching veteran that decided to retire. So she was very well loved within the school. So she filled in some pressure there. The regular classroom teacher, Mrs. Taylor, she's been there for 10 years and is regarded as a very good educational teacher. The student in question is in third grade. The student has been diagnosed as having a behavior disorder. The parents recently were divorced. They do have joint custody, although it's not amicable. Not too good of a situation there. The student is on an IEP. An IEP meeting was held at the start of the year to go over the accommodations. The student was being self-abusive. He was on a consequence/reward program. However, the student's behavior has changed. It has become more aggressive in nature. Mrs. Taylor then speaks with Miss Green about this change in behavior. Miss Taylor seeks action from the SPED teacher. Mrs. Green does go in and do some observations to try and determine if she can figure out what's going on. Mrs. Taylor suggested that they hurry up and set a meeting with the parent. And she said if necessary, but she also made the comment that she wants him out of her room. The SPED teacher did request that they collaboratively work together to form a solution. The parents were also notified or tried to be notified, took a couple of attempts in order to get a hold of them to set up a meeting. Mrs. Green also contacted the district coordinator for special education in order to pick her brain on some resources or some strategies that could be put into place. Miss Green also then began working on an intervention plan. She did set up a meeting with the superintendent to get his approval for the plan and to pick his brain on any resources or suggestions. Behavior updates prior to the meeting, so Mrs. Taylor continually came in to give the latest updates on the behavior. When the parents did come in for the meeting, there was a confrontation at the start of the IEP meeting. The mom kind of started blaming the dad for leaving, and that's she was putting blame on the dad for the reason to why she's having to work so much and not at home as much to spend time with the kids and to help work on some of these issues. The parent then stated, as they got to talking about some of the issues and some of the new strategies and the intervention plan put in place, she basically stated that she didn't know what to do. The plan was explained at the meeting, Parental consent was given to go ahead with the new intervention plan. And then Mrs. Taylor still, even after the meeting, after the parent had left, made a post meeting comment about how she still believes that the student needs to be out of her room. What we need to know from the situation, what strategies, consequence program has been tried, or has there any been tried? Have parents been contacted prior to this by the regular classroom teacher just to stay in communication so everybody's staying on the same page? Also, was there a follow-up? Was there follow-up observations after the new plan was implemented? Was there a follow-up meeting with all of the parties to discuss possible reasons for the outburst? We know that Mrs. Green kind of developed that she thought it might be from some attention because mom's working a lot. Dad, obviously, according to mom, has not been in the picture, and so is he given any attention? And is that why he's having these outbursts in order to seek attention from school? Does the family have other children, and if so, are they displaying similar behaviors? And then has this impacted the goals and performances of Carl? The problem in this case is Carl, who's a third grade student, is displaying aggressive, disruptive behavior, and the current accommodations are no longer effective, causing the teacher to request for assistance and removal from the classroom. Category 2, we're looking at a proposed plan of action. The first step is to communicate with all parties involved. I'm a big believer in sitting down with everyone involved to get everyone's side and to see kind of what's going on, to see if we can't really identify or get to the root of what's going on. Step 2 would then obviously to be able to collaborate with everyone involved, especially the teacher, and then call upon our resources. Look at what's available to us, the special education coordinator, any psychologists, nurses, counselors, to be able to identify the root problem of the issue that's taken place. Step 3 would then be after we've kind of collaborated and determined some of our what we believe could be the cause of it, or to come up with some strategies that we believe could be effective, then we would go ahead and put those strategies on paper and go ahead and develop our intervention plan. Step 4 would then be I would set up some meeting with all the parties to go over this intervention plan. And then step 5, after we have the meeting and everyone's a go, then we would go ahead and implement our new plan. Step 6, I would make sure to have follow-up observations, and then provide feedback where necessary, and to make sure that the plan has been implemented and to determine if it's effective or not. Step 7, if the root problem has been determined, we do need to communicate that if it wasn't determined prior to, but now since we've implemented this new intervention plan and we've provided some more observations and follow-up, if the problem has been determined, then we do need to communicate that with the family, and then also provide them with resources that may be able to help them, maybe like some family counseling or anything like that. Just some suggestions, and then provide some resources and some places that might be able to help them in their quest in order to make sure that their student is successful. And then just continue to communicate, observe, and provide feedback. I think that communication and providing feedback is key. That way we can determine where we need to make some adjustments, make some improvements. We all know that that's the only way we get better is we reflect and we look at what we can change and grow on. So just making sure that we're in the classroom, we're visible, and we're providing that feedback. Category 3, issue resolution for success. First and foremost, I'm a big believer in making decisions that promote safe and inclusive that promotes a safe and inclusive environment for all of our students and staff. Once we've identified the root cause of the situation, follow the updated intervention plan, provide resources to the family, continue to work with Mrs. Taylor in providing instructional strategies to help all parties be successful, and continue working with the parents to ensure that we are working together and towards the same goals to ensure that we are promoting an environment conducive to learning for all. It's always best. The parents are the first teachers, and if we can be on the same page and communicate and work together effectively and collaboratively, then that's going to trickle down to the student, and that's just going to put him in the best situation to be successful. Also, just following through with those informal observations to ensure strategies are being implemented, determine if they're effective or what we need to do to grow or to continue to improve. The next step in the resolution would be to stress the importance of building positive rapport. I think a lot of times, like you see in the quote there, that's one of my favorite quotes, firm believer. Kids do not care what you know until they know that you care. I'm a firm believer in that quote, and I believe that it can solve a lot of our issues. The students are willing to go above and beyond, but they first need to know that you care about them as an individual. Category 4, debriefing the problem through reflection. What I was thinking, as I'm looking through, I was thinking, why is the student suddenly displaying this significant change in behavior? I'm asking myself what could be causing this. As a dean of students and dealing with discipline and behavioral issues all the time, that's always the first thing I go to. What's causing this? What is there's probably an outside factor that's causing this student to act out. And if we can determine what that is, then that can help us determine what strategies would best be effective. I'm also wondering what the rapport between the teacher and the student is. Again, it goes back to that care piece. Those kids want to know that we care about them. Was there any preconceived notions or opinions developed prior to the student coming in? I'm also asking myself, has the student been told he matters? Again, we're going back to that relationship piece. It's key. Has people told him that they care about him and that he can be successful, that he is smart, and that he can do what he wants to do as long as he puts his mind to it? I think those are key factors there. So those are some of the things that I was thinking as I was filling. I do understand where the teacher was coming from. As a former classroom teacher, I haven't been out of the classroom too long. I've only been in administration for 5 years, so I'm going into my 5th year, so I do understand where they're coming from and how disruptions can throw the whole class off topic. I also, as an administrator, I'm looking at liability, safety issues, and I was also feeling a little worried, just making sure that we're following the policies and procedures and laws, but also just making sure that we're doing everything in our power to make sure that the student is successful. What I was valuing, communication of the policies, procedures, laws, and resources. I believe that should be communicated to the parents and the faculty and staff on a regular basis. And also having it on a platform in order for them to review and reflect back upon at any point in time. Collaboration and support of the faculty and staff, ensuring that I'm providing meaningful resources, professional development, and then feedback and observation. I'm visible in their classrooms and letting them know that I'm there to help them resolve any challenging situations that may arise in their classroom. The importance of reflection and continuous improvement. That's the only way we're going to be able to put our students in the best situation to be successful. Category 5, promoting academic success and personal well-being of every student by enhancing instructional capacity. In Component 1, promoting academic success of all students by enhancing instructional capacity. By listening. First of all, to be a good leader, you got to be a good listener. So listening to Miss Taylor's situation and being able to support her through challenging situation, working with her collaboratively on new strategies to make sure the student stays engaged and to improve on her practices, and then just being consistent and fair, conducting those walkthroughs and observations on a consistent basis and providing timely feedback in order to make sure that what we're doing is effective and putting that student in the best situation to be successful and where we may need to make some tweaks and changes. Component 2, promoting the personal well-being of every student by enhancing instructional capacity. Promoted well-being of all students by providing an action plan that will promote engagement and minimize disruptions. That way all students can feel safe coming into the classroom. The action plan also promotes well-being for all students because it calls for continual reflection and feedback. Again, that's going to go ahead, that reflection and feedback piece is going to go ahead and promote continuous improvement, and then that way all students feel safe coming into the classroom as well as the faculty and staff. Promoting instructional capacity by listening to the situation and treating all parties involved with respect and fairness, and then by providing the following. Support, assistance, and resources to the teachers to make sure that they have what they need in their toolboxes to handle behavioral issues within their classrooms or within the educational setting, and then just continually working collaboratively on action plan that promotes success and well-being for all students, and by keeping them engaged and providing that feedback. That way we can continue to get better. That is the conclusion of my presentation. Sorry for talking so fast, and thank you for listening. I hope you enjoyed.